Welcome to another live stream from Time to Go. And if you've been following along, you'll know in the last live stream we looked at the Ender 2 Pro. We had some problems with extrusion on the first layer, so we're going to sort it all out. And in this video, we're going to have a look at alignment of the X, Y, and Z axis mechanically, and also the alignment of the V-slot roller bearings. So let's go to the desktop and see what we need. So to line it up, we're going to need a few tools. This is the spanners we need for lining up the V-slot wheels if there's any problem, and I'm going to use a basic ruler to try and align everything up. So the first thing we need to do, got a printer here. We have on the printer an X-axis, which is in this direction, a Y-axis, which is that direction, and a Z-axis, which is a vertical direction, which is controlled by this lead screw here that takes it up and down. For a printer to work properly, they all have to be perfectly in line. The more in line they are, the better it's going to be. So before we start going into detail with the extrusions and setting everything else up and changing the extruder, which we're going to do, we're going to make sure it's mechanically set up correctly. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to find a reference point, and the reference I'm going to use is this extrusion going across here. And what it is, it's this extrusion here. It's a solid bar, the extrusion goes across, and what's mounted to that is the vertical extrusion here, which is the Z-axis, this one. So this Z-axis and this X-axis wants to be 90 degrees from each other. So let's see if we can check that. So the way I'm going to do it, I'm going to measure from here as a reference. I'm going to measure to the underside of here at this point and at this point here. And if that distance from there to there is the same as this distance from there to there, this is horizontal, and I'll be happy with that. So I'm going to wind this down to rule there. I'm going to wind this down to a fixed position, which I'm going to go for 22. I can measure that at 22. And if I measure that there, I get 22. You can't see it easily from there, but it's where I'm looking, it's 22. I'm going to measure it here as well. And there is 22 also. So the measurement from there to there is the same. This must be horizontal. And if that's horizontal, we need to make sure this is horizontal as well. And I'm going to assume that's horizontal because this is the machined extrusion here, and this is bolted directly onto it. So what horizontal, but we can check it just to be sure. If we take this bed off and we measure the distance from this side of the plate, the bed, to here, our reference, and from there to the reference should be the same, or near enough. We can adjust it anyway, and we can't do that. I'm going to measure it from there to there. It should be near enough the same, but the bed wants leveling, and we're going to do that in a minute. So let's measure this from there to there, 44. And the distance I have there is 45. So this distance here, this is higher. This end here is higher than that end there, so we have to adjust this plate, which we shall do in a moment. But before we do that, let's have a look and see if we've got any issues on the roller bearings. So on this 3D printer, all the axes run on roller bearings, which is these here, and you should be able to turn them lightly, but there should be no play. That one I can turn lightly. If you can see, I'm turning it, and if I push on the roller on the bottom with my finger, the whole thing should move, which is about right. There should be no play in here, that way or that way, which there isn't on the head. It's nice and solid. But what I have noticed is on this axis it's moving. So I'll turn that around. So on this axis you can see it's moving, which means these bearings aren't set correctly. Now there's 3 bearings. There's one on the top, there's one on the bottom, and there's one on the middle here. The 2 bearings at the back should be same distance from the extrusion. This one here is what we have to adjust to take up that slack. So let's see if we can do that. We need a spanner, 2 spanners, and we'll go with these are eccentric bearings, which means what they will do as you turn them, as I turn this bearing, it will move further away or closer to the extrusion. And the closer it goes to extrusion, it'll take out that slack. So I'm going to put my anti-clockwise. Now, there it's very loose. If I start moving this way, you'll see the slack will disappear until you come to a point where there's no play. So we were there like that. Now there's no play. Don't want it too tight, but I don't want any movement. So you want it so it's just tight enough so that when you move this roller, the whole thing moves. There is no, the play is gone now. I'm happy with that, so I'm going to tighten it up. We're now going to check these ones on the extruder. I think it's good, so I'm going to check. There's a bearing on the bottom here, a roller bearing. I'm just going to adjust this one to see if I can get it any better. Same thing, I'm going to put a spanner on the inside nut. I'm going to put a spanner on the outside. And I'm going to turn it slowly till I get this to be nice and fitted properly, which is like that. And now I'm going to tighten this one up. That's now secure. You might find that there's a nut on the Allen key on the inside. We shall just check that. I'll take this off the extruder, the cover. So you can see inside. I'll take that off. Let's extrude the cover off. If you have any of the Ender type printers or a lot of the Creality printers, they all use these wheels, and they're all, for me, they're pretty good. If you keep them adjusted correctly, they work all right. No issues. Now there's an Allen key on this side. I'm going to hold the Allen key. We're going to tighten this knot here. I want it tight, so it doesn't move. I'm going to check this one. Make sure that's tight, which it is. And I'm also going to check this one on the bottom. And I can't get to that one unless I take the extruder off, so I'm going to have to take the extruder off here. Because sometimes these screws are hidden behind everything. And on the Ender 2 Pro, if you want to tighten this one properly, you'll have to take the extruder out. which is what I'm going to do right now. So there's the extruder, we've taken that off. And we're going to put the eye into here. And just to hold the alligator, we're going to tighten this. Now I know the carriage, there's no play in the carriage, but it moves nicely. I'm going to check this one again as well, because I want to make sure these are all nice and tight. I'm going to check these ones with this spanner. They're nice and tight. These ones should be tight, but I'm going to check them anyway. So I'm happy with that. I think that's pretty good. A little bit tighter on that one, I think. Gonna have to get that one a bit better. Just give it a little bit more on that one. You want to make sure when you adjust these, there's no play, but they're not too tight. And all the wheels have to move. When you move it up and down, all the wheels have to be able to move. If one of the wheels is not moving, it means it's not adjusted correctly. So here, as you can see, so if I move this up or down, the wheel turns. Now that's how all the wheels should turn. Every single one should turn, and it's up and down. So I'm happy they're all good. So we now have to put this extruder back on. How that goes back together. So inside the extruder you have the fan, this is the cooling fan, and it will give that a clean. And when we set all the pins up, we'll take that out and we'll give that a cleaning. It's a bit dirty at the moment. And this is the extruder that's inside this one. It's a Mark 8 extruder, and it's held in by these two screws here. And these two screws go into these two holes here. So we're going to put it back on here for now, because we're probably going to end up replacing this for a different type of extruder. But for now, I'm only interested in getting the mechanical settings correct and the extruder drive correct before we move on. So now we've tightened the extruder in. This just fits on. It's on right. And there's one screw here. Which goes into the back. Just to make sure it doesn't fall off. So we'll tighten that. And the only thing that is remaining to do is to level the bed off. And we're going to do that now. And there is the bed. Underneath here, there are some adjuster springs. These here, they turn. That lifts the bed up and down. And we know this is horizontal perfectly. We know this is the Z-axis is vertical. We now have to make this bed the same plane as the tip of the nozzle. So to do that, we're going to home the printer. And we're going to get a little piece of paper like this. There's a nice fresh bit of paper which we're going to use. And the idea is to put the bed on here. We're going to heat the nozzle up. And I'm also going to heat the bed up as well. So that what happens is when we adjust the distance between the nozzle and the bed, it's going to be the distance when it's at full temperature, operating temperature. So now the printer's homing. The nozzle will come down to the front of the plate here. and it will stop. Now when it stops, we don't know how high it's going to be from the bed, so we now have to make it the same on all four corners and also the middle. And to do that, we need a bit of paper, which is about 0.15 or 0.2 thick. That's the distance we're looking at for the nozzle to be away from the bed. And at the moment, as you can see, it's very, very loose. So we are going to adjust that by first of all turning all the motors off, moving the nozzle to here, moving the bed. I'm just going to place this under the nozzle and the bed, and I'm going to adjust this screw which is under here until I can just feel a little bit of resistance on the paper, and I'm going to turn anti-clockwise, clockwise from the bottom, so I just feel it gripping. Start there. I'm going to move across here. I'm going to do the same here with this screw here. I'm turning this clockwise, which is lifting the bed up. Now that's just got a grip there. I'm going to pull the bed forward. And I'm going to do the same here. Because we've adjusted things, the bed has to be readjusted. And that's just gripping there nicely. Same on this corner. And it's better to do it more than once. Now I'm going to try it in the middle of the bed, which is here. The middle of the bed looks pretty good as well. Check it once more. Okay. Check it here. Okay. Okay. But now we know it's all the same distance from the bed to the nozzle. To me, that's perfect. So now we're going to do a quick test print just to make sure it prints. Print. Print. So the print is now going to get up to temperature. We've obviously leveled this up, made the bearings correct and solid to get rid of that if it's an issue. This one did have an issue on the x-axis had an issue. We've sorted that out, and the bed axis is good as well anyway. So although we have extrusion issues, which we do know about, mechanically it's good. In the next stream, we're going to take this extruder off and replace it for another extruder, and I've decided I'm going to go for the BMG because I think that's going to be a lot better for what I want to use it for. So now's the time to do it. But here we go. It'll be interesting to see if this is any better than it was the last time we did the stream, because if you remember, the first print was really bad. When we adjusted the extrusion length, because it was, I think it was 58 millimeters, it should have been 50. We got it down to 50, and it should have worked. But it did work a little bit. Might make it even better. It might even make it worse. The only way to try it is to print it, and that's what we're going to do. So we want to see how good this is, and to me it looks level. We're looking for an even print all the way across the print. If it's even, that's okay. It might look to me like it wants to go, the distance between the nozzle and the bed wants to go down a bit, but we can do that once we know it's basically level. That's after this print is done. Printers such as the Ender 2 series, 3 series, they have the same mechanism as this which is a Bowden extruder, to the hot end with the same type of extruder. If you get the one with the plastic extruder, I would recommend you take it off and throw it in the bin, and get one of these. Get one of these extruders here, into the metal version. This one came off an Ender 5, and I converted it to one of these. So it's printing terribly, which is not good. Let's see what's wrong with this. It wants to go further down towards the bed. So what's happening now is we've adjusted it, but it's too far. The print is too far ahead. Printing head is too far from the bed. I'm going to stop this print because I'll show you now how bad it is. So here's the print that we've just done, and I think you'll agree that it's worse than it was before. Now, I don't give in. I'm going to take all of these down by I'm going to take these all clockwise by 1/8 of a turn. I'm going to do that on all these. And just move everything to the home position. And we've just adjusted the bed by adjusting the screws on the bottom of the bed here. So this lifts the bed up a bit more. This is good. Once I get a nice level print, I'll be happy to move on to the next stage. But I'm not happy yet. So the first prime line has gone down nice. Good. And normally you can tell by looking at it if it's going to be good or not. And that still wants to go lift it up a little bit more. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to adjust this one while it's running. I'm just going to slightly adjust the bed by turning the screws at the bottom to lift it up just a little bit more, so I get it right. And you'll see when it gets right. Sometimes that's the easiest way to do it. You get it near enough, no matter how near you get it, it'll never be perfect. So it's better to look at how it's performing. And it's looking pretty good, I think. And I'm going to leave it till the end of this one because this one looks very good. So if you've been following along, in the next video, I'm going to be taking this extruder off, replacing it. I've got the two original prints here we did. First one, second one, which is, there's the first one, and there's the second one. And we're just going to compare what difference, just adjusting, this here was loose, this axis here was loose, the Z axis. Just by adjusting, checking it, adjusting this, adjusting the bed to the right height, you'll see the difference in print quality. My tool tidy, by the way, is coming along. I don't know if you can see the tool tidy there, which is project we've had going for a short while. They've all fit in nicely. Get them all out like that. And these are the tool holders I've made so far, which are shaped for side cutters, long nose pliers, and this one here has got 4 holes in it for screwdrivers. If you look at my other videos I have online, you can see how these are physically made. Eventually, it will be nice and clean and tidy. So I'm going to stop this print now because I want to compare it. So let's have a look at the difference. There's the first print, which was not very good. if you remember rightly. There was the top layer, which was pretty awful. Now the second attempt was this one. This is how the second attempt turned out. And it was a little bit better. The quality is improving. We adjust the steps per millimeter only on that one. And this one we've adjusted the loose x-axis, and that's the print we've got. It's completely smooth, and that's how the first layer should look. Just like that. So I think it's now time for us to play around with the extruder on the next video. Have the well better, perfectly flat and smooth first layer, and next stream we're going to change the extruder. Bye for now. Thank you for watching.